Okay, so I'm going to start recording.
And then go back to sharing.
Screen share is stopped. Window is closed. Let's open up this screen share. There it is.
Boom.
Okay, so let's do it.
Right.
Now the problem is if you want to get rid of all the faces, because some of the screen is blocked, you have to go up here to the, you can see what the cursor is, and minimize it. And then it should take away everybody's faces. Justin is the only one that's up. Okay, yeah.
Well, we have control over whether or not our faces are up. Right now, it's just recording your screen.
Okay, well, that's good. Now let's see how we can get this going. Okay, here we go. I'll pause it ever so often. Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Kreitzer. I'm hoping that you've had a great break. Mine was very busy and a little bit stressful trying to figure out what to do with you guys. But, okay, so let's start. And we're starting now with the Chinese popular religion. And it's really a syncretism of 5 different religions together. And there's actually one big, huge hole in the study of Chinese popular religion, and that's the neglect of the faith in the original creator god that they worshipped at the beginning of their known history, Shangdi. So the slideshow is there. It should be there in front of you, and you click on this and you're following along. China has a self-image that they're the middle of the whole earth. That's just their view, their self-image, their culture. And it's kind of interesting because that's in contrast to the biblical account, which places Jerusalem as the very center, the navel of the earth. And you can see this in several different passages in Ezekiel and in the apocryphal book, Jubilees. So if you push the button, you'll see their self-image is the Middle Kingdom, and you can see an ancient map in which they're placed right at the center of the world. Now, normally we place the United States at the center of the world, but they place themselves there. And so Jerusalem in the Bible is just the opposite. That's the center of the world. 2 different, completely different worldviews. And this is really a worldview. China versus Jerusalem. In fact, it's kind of interesting that the Chinese Christians see both. They have a whole movement that was started actually in the 30s called Back to Jerusalem. And the vision at that time, and it's been picked up in the last 20 years, is to develop a large movement of Christians coming from China to go to the Middle East, all the way back to Jerusalem. So it's kind of an interesting thing that's happening in China. So we'll see the next slide. Seeking wisdom, the Chinese way, and I'll call the Chinese popular religion a CPR. It's not a cardiopulmonary resuscitation. It's Chinese popular religion. So we're going to see the syncretism of 5 religions: shamanism and ancestor worship. 2nd, Chinese idolatry. 3rd, Confucianism. 4th, Taoism, or some people pronounce it as Taoism. And 5th, Mahayana Buddhism. But if you push it again, you'll see that the missing factor is the Shangdi neglect. That Shangdi was the name of the creator, and we'll discuss that more later. But from the very beginning, there was a very strong emphasis upon the worship of the creator, and he had many, many characteristics of the biblical creator God. So much so that Protestants, when they came into China and translated the Bible into Mandarin and Cantonese, they called him Shangdi. So if you look at the next slide, you'll see a picture of a shaman on the left and one on the right. That's Chinese shamanism, and the technical term in Chinese is Wu for a shaman. Then we'll see the ever-present attraction of idolatry. There's many different idols. I've just put up one of the key sets of 3 high gods, Fu, Lu, and Shou, if you keep pushing it. And then the next is the Jade Emperor and the 8 immortals. The Jade Emperor also presides over a set of 3 high gods. So you can choose which set of 3 high gods that you want to worship, not like in Hinduism where they just have three high gods that govern the Celtic cycle. But here you've got two sets of high gods, but there's innumerable other gods that you can worship. And it's very user-friendly. You can choose and pick whichever god you want to pick and choose to worship. So the next of the religions is Confucius. That's what we'll see in the quiz. Make sure that you know that Confucius is the name that is given to him in Latin when the first missionaries went there to China in about 1270s, I think it was, AD. They couldn't possibly pronounce Confucius, so they Latinized it to Confucius, and then the name of the religion is Confucianism. And you can see that his religion is based upon a lot of sayings and proverbs and things like that. For example, this one I have up here: the man who asks a question is a fool for a minute, but the man who does not ask a question is a fool for life. So it's a kind of an interesting proverb, kind of a aphorism that grabs you and gets you to think. Now that's not the essence. Proverbs, the real essence of Confucianism is role relationships, and we'll see that later. The fourth then is Lao Tzu, or some people pronounce it Lao Tzu. And again, he also has a lot of proverbs and sayings, but that again is not the essence of it. The essence is to live in balance with the force, which he calls the Tao. The greater the number of laws and enactments of laws, the more thieves and robbers there will be. So it's kind of a interesting philosophy, and we'll see that it contrasts sharply with Confucius' teaching. Him there on the right, and then another Buddha, which is responsible for one of the largest sects of Buddhism called Pure Land Buddhism on the left. So let's just look at the historical background in slide number 9. We're going to start with the Shang dynasty. Now, when was the Shang dynasty? Well, this was between the time of Abraham and the time of Moses. So the Shang dynasty lasted for about 700 years, and they worshipped the creator god named Shangdi. So some people pronounce it the Shang dynasty. Maybe it was derived from Shangdi, though I don't think so, because Shang, I believe, means emperor. So it was the emperor, the dynasty of the emperors. So you can see that's right there is where we're going to start. And the missing factor in all 5 of those religions, as I mentioned before, was the original monotheism in ancient Shang dynasty. So the high god, as we see, his name was Shangdi. He's the personal creator god of all things. By the way, that's the way to spell it in Chinese pictographic characters. They're in yellow. And it just means the highest deity or the highest emperor. So Shang means emperor and Di means the highest. So we see that he was the author of moral laws, very similar to Yahweh or Jehovah. And everybody in China was accountable to him, especially the rulers. And they were accountable to be righteous and to rule justly. And when they didn't rule justly, the people had the right to overthrow him, and that's what happened. We'll see with the next dynasty called the Zhou dynasty. Now later, as the whole religion began to break down, the term for God ceased to be personal. The great emperor of the highest sort, and they just called him heaven. And you can see that in the scriptures as well. Sometimes they call him the mighty power on high. So the term was just heaven, Tian. And so you'll see in Confucius, he talks a lot about heaven rules, heaven reigns. And they did sacrifice Confucianism to this heavenly creator until 1911. And there's temples set up, and we'll see that here in a bit. So as the supreme ruler of heaven and earth, he did create a real world. He's not like Hinduism, where the world is an illusion. He's more similar to the Buddha, who believed that there was a real external world. But in the Chinese traditional religion, the underlying assumption is that God created the world and he upholds it. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why the Chinese are really, really good at science. Maybe they weren't able to systematize it nearly as much as the Christians, because they began to syncretize more with Buddhism and others. But they invented so many things. And it was because there was a real world upheld by the Creator, and it was orderly, just like the Creator, Shangdi, was orderly. And this was an autocratic worldview. Now, autocratic, the way I explain that term, and you can look it up, there's different explanations, but ontos means beings, kratos means rule. So beings or spirits fill everything. And it's ruled by the master spirit of all, the Creator. So this was a very religious society, and it was filled with spirits. Now, the spirits eventually began to dominate their worship, and they neglected the Creator, as we shall see. You can see one of the annual heavenly sacrifices was in honor of the highest deity. That temple on the right is in Beijing. And somehow the Chinese believed that they were alienated from Shangdi, just exactly like Hebrews did. And you can see that all the way back to Genesis chapter 3 in the Bible. Now, of course, from a Judeo-Christian perspective, these earliest Chinese fathers descended from Noah and immigrated there, and so they had the knowledge of the Creator. And they had the knowledge that there was a fall and that they needed to approach the Creator through blood sacrifice. And you see that from the very beginning with Cain and Abel. They fought over what kind of sacrifice was the most pleasing to God to approach Him. Cain and Abel, if you want to read that story in chapter 4 and 5 of Genesis. So because they were alienated, they needed to be restored to the relationship and needed to be restored to worship through Shangdi, through blood sacrifice. So you see that number 1 and then number 2. And this sacrifice, interestingly enough, was supervised by the emperor, and even went so far as he would travel to the border and sacrifice at the very border of China to ask the Creator to protect their borders. Remember, these guys were very border conscious. They built a wall around their border, the Great Wall of China. You can see that just a few couple hours drive outside of Beijing. You can see where the emperors built to start at the Great Wall, and it went for a few thousand miles. It took them hundreds of years to build the wall, and they then began to do the border sacrifice within Beijing himself once a year, very similar to the Yom Kippur sacrifice of the Jews. And it can, like I said, it continued about 1911. Now, what is interesting is, if you go to the next slide, number 13, the word Shangdi means the supreme ruler, and he required righteousness, but the righteousness that he required had to come first through sacrifice. And you can see the word righteousness in Chinese is a combination of the word me and the word sheep. So that's an ancient pictographic combination of those two, me and sheep. And a sheep covering my sins gives me a decree of righteousness before God. If you look at the next section of slide 13, so the Chinese border sacrifice started, as far as I can know, somewhere around about 2230 BC and continued to 1911 to sacrifice to the supreme ruler, Shangdi. And you can see that there's on the right-hand side, the border sacrifice is a temple on the most extreme western border of China, where the emperor walked up several thousand steps, and eventually, when he got more and more pompous, they would carry him up on a sedan chair, and then he was sacrificed at the top of that mountain to make sure that God was pleased with them, to protect their border. So in slide 14, but this religion then degenerated into a folk religion that just basically focused on spirits, the spirits of the ancestors and the spirits of animals and trees and of nature. And they neglected the worship of the Creator, and they became more and more wicked. And it was that reason why after 700 years, that dynasty fell and the next dynasty took over. And they said they wanted to reinstitute the worship of the true creator God, which they called heaven, the worship of heaven. So that comes out of the human conscience, I think, that we are to respect our elders. But then they had a thought, well, okay, our elders maybe last forever, so they're up there as spirits and ghosts. And so therefore, their respect for the elderly and for their parents went into the veneration and fear, utter fear of the spirits of the dead, and especially of those who you've offended. So it's very, very important for a Chinese family members to respect their parents so that they won't be offended and not come back and hurt them in their afterlife. So they appease these various different spirits, and some of the spirits then developed into local gods and deities and powers with blood sacrifice. So they stopped giving sacrifice to the creator, and that's exactly what we saw with Zoroastrianism. Remember, Zoroaster told them, don't sacrifice to the devas, the spirits, or the devas in Sanskrit. Don't sacrifice to them, sacrifice to Ahura Mazda, the high creator god. And they began to lose that, and it was one of the reasons why they revolted. They wanted to restore the sacrifice back to the creator 700 years after the Shang dynasty began. And what is interesting is many hundreds of years later, around about 635, Christians came from Assyria. Now, Assyria is northern Iraq, and they traveled along what they call the Silk Road all the way to Beijing and to China, and they dug this huge basalt, they call it a stele, from dated around about 635, and they wanted to bring back the worship of the creator. It was at this time that Buddhism had greatly influenced the Chinese culture, so they had not forgotten him, but they had neglected him tremendously. They developed other names for God, and it was sad because if they had used Shangdi, I think they would have had a much more openness. When the Protestants began to use the word Shangdi, the Chinese said, yes, that's our ancient creator God. He's come now to visit us through his son, Yesu, Jesus. They reintroduced the worship of the creator, but used a different name. And that's happened also in Mongolia. Just in the last 10 years, they began to reintroduce the name of the high creator god of the Mongolian people. And when they did that, thousands of old people began to come into the church. Yes, this is our God, our creator that we know in our stories and our mythology. Before that in Mongolia, it was mostly a young people's movement. After communism fell in Mongolia, the young people streamed into the churches. But when they began to reintroduce the name of the traditional creator god and begin to use the arts and the music and the dance forms of the Mongolian people, the old people came in. I wish the Koreans would have seen that. They used the name of the creator god, the mighty one. Can't remember off the top of my head what it is. I'll remember it. And they use the Hyun-nim is Hyun-nim is the name of an older brother. I'll ask my peanut gallery over here. What is the name of the high group god in Hananim? Hananim. Hananim is the name, the high creator god in Korea. And when the Protestants began to use it, they streamed into the churches, but they didn't use ancient Korean dance forms and drama and things like they're doing in Mongolia. And in the Mongolians, they're getting a lot of the older people in. So that leads us then to our introductory videos. And I wanted to stop there at day one for Monday class. And also we'll stop here for the Tuesday class and look at these introductory videos. Mr. Green, listen to Mr. Green number 1, and then the video on the 3 teachings. The 3 most important classic religions are Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism. And then watch the little clips from Mulan. I think you'll get a kick out of those. Many times in class that everyone sings along with them because I know you all know that. So answer these 3 DQs. Number 1, what religions are practiced in China? And name 1 core principle of each that you learned from Mr. Green, the 3 teachings. Number 2, find and describe the scene in Mulan for a scene in Mulan. And I put the scene, but it should be a scene in Mulan for at least 3 of the 5 of the Chinese popular religion, CPR religion. So see if you can, and the reason why I'm doing that, because I want to see that you're actually watching those. And then 3, watch this collage of images from Taiwanese religion. And you'll see statue of the Buddha, you'll see a statue of Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism. You see a lot of hierarchical role relationships, respect for the elder, that's Confucianism, things like that. So write down and find and note images of each of the 5 CPR religions, as many as you can, right there. Okay, well, thank you so much for class number 1, and we'll stop here, and we'll pick this up on Wednesday or on Thursday for the second class at the Tuesday, Thursday class. Thank you, bye.
Woo. Okay, so now let's get rid of this. And I am going to play one of the videos from Mulan. Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
So that leads us into our introductory.
Let's get rid of that. Now how am I going to get this link up without them talking, without me talking?
You could take a screenshot of it and.
Yeah, well, why don't you guys take a screenshot of those? Basically, the Mulan. Here.
All right.
Will that give me the link? Hyperlink. Open hyperlink. Ah, here we go. So I'm going to play this one. You guys can watch this one. Okay, now let me just share this part of the screen. Okay. Can you see that, or is that not yet up?
No.
It's not there.
No.
You have to share that specific screen. So if you go down to your share screen, you
Share
can choose which
screen.
one.
Right.
I feel like I'll watch Mulan after this.
Okay, so I need to share, but I need to get. I need to go back to Zoom. Zoom. Oh, why is this not wanting to let me share it? Share screen. Meeting. I did it in the other class, and I can't remember how I did it. Okay. Okay, so why is it not showing me the back to where we were? Okay.
The video has to be playing on the same desktop.
Pardon me?
It has to be playing on the same desktop. It has to be the same screen. So if you have multiple like desktops open, sometimes it'll not cast it. I don't know if you're on a Mac though. I don't know what you're using.
I'm on a Mac.
Yeah, so just make sure that whatever video is playing is on the same desktop as the PowerPoint.
Okay, so let's just see.
Is that a thing with like all Macs?
Yeah, you can have like multiple, like you can open multiple
Because I have like
home pages.
6 tabs open across all 3 of my monitors.
Okay, let's just see. New share. Ah, okay, so let's go back over to here. And then do new share. Aha, okay, so new share. And we're gonna open up that one right there. And we're gonna share. Can you see it?
No. Oh,
Yes.
no. Yeah,
I see it.
Whoa.
I'm here.
Get rid of this thing.
This is my movie right here.
Oh yeah, I'm here, she says.
What? But Mama, I had none of your excuses. Now let's get you cleaned up. This is what you give me to work with. Well, honey, I've seen worse. We're gonna turn this sow's ear into a silk purse. It's freezing. It would have been warm if you were here on time. We'll have you washed and dried, trimmed and polished till you glow with pride.
Okay, so can you all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're going to notice Confucianism. You're going to notice a little, the grandmother is going to give her a little yin yang amulet. You're going to hear about the ancestors and other things of role relationships. So you can see at least 2, 3 of the religions in this little clip. So that's what I wanted you to do, just to jot down some notes while we're listening to it and see which religions you notice.
Taste my recipe for instant pride. You bring honor to us all.
Oops.
Notes, in case I forget something. Hold this. We'll need more luck than I thought.
Yeah, difficult is the luck.
We're through. Boys will gladly go to war for you. With good fortune and a great.
Can you hear the sound?
Yeah.
Got it up as high as I can be. Maybe you have to turn yours up. Let's just see. That's up.
Hairdo. You'll bring honor to us all. How you can bring her family great honor in one way by striking a good match, as this could be the day.
Now, so notice what's happened here is the old men normally have very little respect for a young girl. So how is that related to Confucianism? Confucianism is respect for the old people. Does anybody have any thoughts about that? It's a role reversal.
Like, cause she was helping the old man to like figure out how to play the checkers or whatever to beat the other man. So I'm assuming that she's helping the elder by doing, like, I guess, helping him with the game.
Yeah,
I'm not
you're going to see that normally the old people are the ones that are wise, and the girls are the ones that are just to be pretty. So in the movie, they're trying to show role reversal, and the woman is empowered. It's kind of an interesting little take on Confucianism.
And with the little kid, he takes the kid
Girls
away.
with good taste, obedient, who work fast-paced.
Can you notice what she said? What were the men looking for girls? Girls were looking to be what kind of quality?
Very skinny and fast-paced, and they've listened to them.
Yeah, they're supposed to be obedient, skinny waist, and pretty. That's kind of what the traditional Confucian ideal for a girl was getting ready to get married.
With good breeding, the tiny bit, you'll bring honor to us all. We all must serve our emperor who guides us from the heart. Not as ordinary arms, until my very side.
You know, that was another role reversal there, if you notice.
When we're through, you can't feel what we're feeling. You can't feel like a goodness that is countless tail. How could any fellow say no sail? You'll bring honor to us all. You're ready, not yet. An apple for serenity, a pendant for balance.
What was that pendant that she put in there?
It was the yin yang sign, and it was the balance.
Otis.
Well, that was Taoism, yin yang. And then she gives her also a good luck, a little cricket, which is part of the animism, the shamanism, and the trusting in the spirits and luck for prosperity.
Beads of shade for beauty. You must proudly show it. Now add a cricket just for luck. And even you can't blow it. Ancestors, hear my plea. Help me not to make a fool of me, and to not uproot my family tree. Keep my father standing tall. Scarier than the Undertaker, we are meeting our matchmaker. Just to be Teach our perfect worship dawn. Please bring honor to us, 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 please bring honor to us
Okay, well, in my screen, it was very jumpy. Did you guys have a jumpy screen?
Yeah, mine was going, it was like buffering, and the audio was before the video, and it would keep pausing, freezing at some point, so.
Yeah, I tried to be much better. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these links into the announcements, and you can watch the rest of them. Okay, now I got to go back
I've
to.
been listening to Mulan for the last few days, and now I need to watch this movie again. I've been
Okay,
listening
so
to the new song.
let's see now. What? That's not it. Mulan. Okay, so. Maybe back. Let's go back to where we were somehow. Zoom. Nope, that's not it. Maybe I'll get rid of this. Okay, now OneDrive. Where is this? Firefox. We don't want Firefox. Resume share. Is the share there? Okay, so now let's go back. Yeah, okay, so there we are. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put all these links into the announcements. You can watch those and take a screenshot of this particular slide, and then you can answer those questions, put them into the DQ section, and I'll put those up here in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, any questions?
Do you want us to do it through a Word document, or?
You can write it directly into the DQs. I will put the links into the tasks. So you go to tasks and you'll find DQs, or you can go to the calendar and under today's date, you'll click on the DQ and then you write your answer in.
Okay.
Now the last one on Taiwan is very fascinating, just a collage of pictures. And I want you to just kind of try to find as many of the religions as you can in there. Okay, anybody else have any questions?
Are the DQs going to be open from the beginning of class or from the end of like a normal class day?
Normally I'll have the DQs put in. This is all a trial run, but for normally at the very beginning, I'll have it in, and that we'll introduce it. I'll introduce it for about 5 minutes, and then you guys can click on the video, watch it, watch all of the video links, and then you can answer the DQs. And you can do that during the class time, or you can do it anytime during that particular day. And when you're done, and you can go have a fun time at the beach if you want to, if you live at the beach.
Or stay home.
Stay at home, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to put these links up. So have a great rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Weren't you gonna have me help you?
Yeah, oh, and Weston, yeah, that's right. I forgot about Weston. So everyone, you can sign out now.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Okay, see you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Leave meeting.
Hey.
Okay, so I'm going to stop share. No, if Weston, if that cancels out, I'm going to put you back on.
No, as long as you don't leave, then we're fine.
Okay. Kennedy, were you there the whole time?
All right, bye.
Okay, bye, Julia. Max, are you there? Kennedy, were you there?
Yes, I'm right here.
Okay, so did you get all the instructions and everything?
Yes.
Kaden, are you there? Kaden.
She have all the side people with no cameras.
Yeah, maybe she doesn't have. Okay, so Lily, you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and sign out. How do you sign out?
You just click leave meeting in the bottom right.
Oh, end meeting. I don't want to end the meeting. You guys leave the meeting.
Yeah, get.
Bye.
Okay. See you later.
Bye.
Kennedy, see ya.
And there's someone pretending to be you too.
No, that's me.
No, there's you, and then there's a Mark Dot Kreitzer.
Okay, so I've got it up on my desktop, and that is also being broadcast on my Mac. So I've got two openings there. But the video quality is really bad. I mean, there's a second delay or.
Oh, it's only for you. We're seeing it in real time.
Oh, okay. You guys are seeing it in real time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get rid of this one. Remove. Do you want to remove Mark Kreitzer? Once removed, Mark will not be able to rejoin the meeting. Okay.
Yeah, that's a fake you. And then Caden's still here.
And we're going to remove Caden.
Probably just join so that you could see that in case there's credit, but clearly the.
Okay. Now I've got to stop the video. Stop video. No, wait. If I stop the video, then I won't see you. Pause.